Gavin Hamilton scored 5 centuries for his country, but in 2009, with Scotland needing to win against the UAE to remain an associate nation, was this one his most important.
Obviously the innings against UAE was quite an important one, but at the time it wasn't really in my thoughts, really, to be quite honest. I think Pete played it very well. He played the whole game down very well. It was only really the couple of days after the real importance it had, but that was a tough tour, to say the least. It was just going back on what I said before. We were together and I don't think we quite gelled for the first time on a Scotland tour. I think we were so far away from each other, it was getting embarrassing, actually, and that was everyone will say the same thing, really. But certainly over recent years it's been tricky. Obviously when you've got half a dozen people retiring and a couple of people going off for different reasons we won't go into, yeah, I think we've done well to stay where we are. I think next 2 years are going to be the most crucial 2 years, I think, certainly within Scotland cricket, because 2 or 3 players have to come on.
Well, you were made captain of Scotland very late in your career. Did that come as a surprise to you?
Yeah, it did, because it never really crossed my mind, to be honest. I never really aspired to be it, purely because I was in England. I wouldn't be able to commit time to it. I was never going to be in and around the offices to discuss tactics, etc. So, but when it came on and when Ryan resigned, I thought it through a little bit. I thought, well, who else is going to take it on here with the World Cup coming on, the 2020 World Cup coming up, the massive season coming ahead, and at that time I was umming and ahhing, how much cricket I've got left in me, and it just came at a perfect time, because it was something I've always really wanted to do. I've done quite a bit of captaincy at Yorkshire, but never really on an international level. But to captain sort of Scotland in the World Cup was absolutely exceptional. It was a fantastic tournament, and it was another stepping stone for me. I mean, I grew as a person. I started. I wouldn't say I was a selfish cricketer, but when you have to start thinking about another 15 people, it makes things difficult. But I enjoyed it. and it brought the best out of me, I think.
The sun is still shining, the pitch looks good. I've got two captains with me, Paul Collingwood, of course, and Gavin Hamilton, who's got the coin. You've got it, Paul. Tail is the call. Tail it is. Gav, you won the toss. What are you going to do? Go for that.
But your period as captain really was a period of intense change in the makeup of the Scotland team, and you were very much part of the vision for the future. How do you think it's turned out in the last season?
To be honest, I thought we were going to go further than where we are, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, but there's numerous reasons for that. But obviously, like you said, when I took over, it was just, we literally started from scratch. And in that first year, although we didn't win many games, I think we showed glimpses of real promise, and I thought we competed really well. I just think it's just finding 3 or 4 people that can step up, and I know we've got 2 or 3 coming through now, and like I said, I really did think we were going to be a little bit further, but there's so many different reasons for that, and for saying that, I think we've held our own very well through this tricky period.
Now, the advent of 2020 seems to be making a big difference to Scotland's expectations in world cricket. Do you think that's the right kind of way that the world game should go for the associate countries?
I do, not necessarily purely because 2020 is the way forward, but I think it intensifies all the one-day skills that you're acquiring. I mean, I had a good chat with David Hussey and Nuts about this, and he brought it up that you guys, Scotland, might be involved in the 2020 next year, and I said, well, it's the first I've heard of it, but I'll believe it when I see it. And he said, well, you just, whatever it takes, you've got to try and do it, because he, by his own admission, is just taking his game to another level. Now, when we're going to be competing against these guys on tournament levels, we need to sort of have some kind of backing behind it. And just the fielding, I mean, I've been to watch a couple of county games last year, and the pace in which and how things are growing and the way the game's going, I think it's an absolute necessity that Scotland, if not involved in the county level, really do take it on board to progress in that sort of form of the game.
But the move is at ICC level to possibly only have 10 countries taking part in the 50 over World Cup. Is this a backward step or a forward step?
Absolutely. It defeats the object of the sort of last 10 years of associate cricket. It was never going to be an overnight programme. I thought at best it was going to be a 20-year programme where at least maybe 2 associate teams will sort of be pushing for, possibly not test level, but certainly good ODI standards. And I think there's 2 or 3 teams that aren't far away. Obviously, still quite a bit to go, but certainly going in the right direction. And for it to actually mention it, let alone do it, it just seems absurd. It really does.
Well, I'm sure the other associate countries are also thinking that kind of thing, and particularly perhaps Afghanistan, who came up from Division 5 of the World Cricket League to knock on the door of the World Cup, and they certainly are among the leading top 3 of the associate countries. You've played against them 3 or 4 times now, and they seem almost invincible at our level.
Yes and no. I mean, I've got mixed feelings about the Afghanistan team. I mean, in my eyes, they've probably played very well against associate teams, but as proven, as soon as they come across, the bigger sides, I think Scotland, Ireland, Holland compete far better against the bigger sides than Afghanistan ever will.